Boys and girls, this is the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and you're listening to Going In Raw, baby.
This is the glorious one, Bobby Roode, and you're watching Going In Raw.
What's up, it's your girl, Sasha Banks, the legit boss, and you're watching Going In Raw. You like that?
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw Social Isolation Edition. This might become the new normal. One of us here in the studio, one of us at home, both of us at home. But yeah, we're trying to be safe. Larson woke up this morning and you told me that you had the sniffles.
I had like a little sniffle, so just operating with an abundance of caution. So yeah.
Well, we saw what our friendos over at Cultaholic are doing, socially isolating, everybody's staying home, and so we're whatever they do, we want to try to be like them.
Yeah.
Except not British, because we can't do that.
They set template for the rest of us.
Yeah, but good on them, though. Good on them. We love those guys. And hey, shout out also to our friendos there in at Wrestle Talk for putting on that No Fans Monday show. I have not had a chance to catch it yet, but I hear the main event featuring Will Ospreay versus B. Priestley was something great. And apparently they raised like $10,000.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, good on them. That's great.
Yeah. So anyways, you'll be able to listen to us, of course, wherever audio podcasts can be found. You can check us out on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steven Larson. If I recall correctly, I don't think we've had any new patrons since the weekend, so I'm not sure if I have any shout outs to give, but I'll check. I'll double check. Why not? Well, I'll do that. Let's see here. Patreon meet. I think Zach Stolp is back with us. And
cool.
Oh, yeah. Sexton Hardcastle, which I believe was Edge's original wrestling name.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then Matt Field and Bronson. They're all with us. Bronson. Oh, that's good. Look at that. Yeah, I love the perspective on your fist right there. It's next to the camera. Oh, that's great. Look at that. Tough boy. Anyways, so we're going to do things beyond the fact that we're doing things a little bit different from the production standpoint because Raw was so bereft of actual content last night, of new content.
Yeah, what was the deal with that?
So this was a fear that we had that SmackDown. Okay, so I've got kind of a new theory. I totally believe at this point that Triple H's rumored demotion was in fact an actual demotion, because I suspect that Vince hated the episode of SmackDown, because what we saw last night was the exact opposite. It was the opposite. There was none of the loosey-goosey, let's have fun stuff. It was the most, even in its stripped down phase, or in its stripped down element last night, it was bereft. Like all the humor was so forced. The Stone Cold stuff was...
Oh, that was bad.
It was cringy. It was so bad. Cringy.
It was bad. And I don't know why they keep playing to the typical wrestling conventions when fans are there. Like wrestlers, I know part of that, I'm sure, is just muscle memory to an extent. But, Stone Cold going all the turnbuckles and posing. Like, there's no one there.
They don't know what else to do with themselves. It's like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. So yeah, it was sadly, I was very disappointed. Like, the moment they started and we had, Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Jerry Lawler just standing there like they're mannequins, saying, "Hey, this is a special episode." I was like, "Okay, dude, nah, man, Triple H is gone." And all the goofing that Triple H was doing on SmackDown, I think Vince hated it. That's why he was nowhere to be found. And Triple H goofing about his demotion, Vince probably hated that. I get that feeling, because it was nothing like the joy of Empty Arena SmackDown, where they were legitimately trying to make us smile and entertain us. Last night it was just over. It felt
like last night felt like an obligation.
It did. It totally did. And I kind of
contractually obligated to run this television show, so we will.
Yeah, I kind of understand, like, if Vince's thought process is, this WrestleMania, we're going to do a news brief later on today where we're going to talk about this seemingly ever-evolving WrestleMania situation. They've announced that it's going to be at the Performance Center, but there's some rumors out there that might not even be the case, that they are doing that for a different reason.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that and speculate on that during our news brief today. But if WrestleMania is supposed to happen, Vince might just be in, hey, let's get through this. They ran the entire Royal Rumble match last night.
Mm-hmm.
That took up, what, an hour and a half, an hour and 4? Because
yeah, roughly. It was about half the episode. Yeah, it's about half the episode.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, look, I didn't expect them to do, I didn't even have a major issue with running, old stuff. I understand that 3 hours in an empty arena, even if Triple H is goofing, not sure.
I think it was just kind of the structure of it, because you went about 2 hours and 15 minutes without any matches, any live matches. At least give us that Rey and Andrade match to kick off the show.
Yeah.
You have the Edge promo, go to commercial, come back, have that match. Then if you want to have the Rumble, just in terms of a viewership thing, if I'm turning on episode of Raw expecting, an empty arena show, at least give us a match to kind of satisfy our need to watch wrestling. And then if you want to use the Rumble match then after that to fill up that hour and a half because you can't have enough people in the building to do a full show, understandable. But to wait so long to provide a match was I don't know, it just seemed like an odd structure of the show.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Wasn't that the only new match last night?
Yeah, there were no other matches. There were no other matches.
That's
besides
crazy.
Byron Saxton getting killed by Stone Cold and Becky. But yeah, no, it was. So we're gonna do what we're gonna do in this episode is we're gonna talk about Raw, and then we're gonna talk about the Broken Skull sessions with Bret Hart.
Correct.
Because that I thought it's funny because somebody noted this on Twitter last night, and I'm sorry, I apologize, forget who it was. They said, "Hey, Steve," or "Hey, Real Going in Raw, why don't they take this opportunity?" And I kind of get why. I kind of get it, but it's a good idea. Take this opportunity to showcase the wealth of other content they have, either on YouTube, maybe an episode of Up, Up, Down, Down that's particularly interesting, maybe the hour of Broken Skull sessions, maybe one of the older ones, maybe the Undertaker one. He's got a match with AJ coming up. Maybe anything on the network. I get that they're going to WrestleMania, so they want to go heavy on stuff pertaining to WrestleMania. I get that.
Yeah.
But if this was in a vacuum, if you weren't building to a pay-per-view, I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Because they do have so much else to offer, and don't you want to spotlight that variety? I would think that that's something they'd want to do.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Hell, most of their ancillary content is better than their programming. Anyways,
yeah, I know.
Their core programming.
All their documentary films are really well done.
Yeah, they're really, all those day ofs, 24s, all that
24,
kind of stuff.
365, all that stuff's really well done.
Yeah, no, totally. So anyways, I guess we'll just hop right into this and see where it takes us.
Sure.
We had a commentary. Yeah, so like I mentioned, the commentators introed the show. They threw to AJ's promo from last week.
Calling out The Undertaker, yeah.
Yeah, and then Edge showed up. And,
well, at first it was interesting because Tom Phillips says, and we got appearance from Edge, and then cue Edge's music. He interrupts Tom Phillips, teasing Edge by Edge being there. Apparently, he actually did drive 17 hours to make it to Raw yesterday.
That's what Beth Phoenix said on Twitter. That's awesome. That's impressive. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of car
he
he
hopped in
drives.
his.
Probably
I think it was a truck.
Oh yeah.
And so he's about to drop a promo, but first he throws to a video package of everything that's happened between himself and Randall Orton thus far.
Yeah, we figured it'd go heavy on video packages. I really like this Edge promo though.
It was really good.
I thought him speaking directly into the camera, they got some really good close-ups on him. It was very intense, and he talked about grit. And I thought it translated pretty well.
It did. Watching pretty much all the in-ring stuff, it really reminds me of like a community theater doing rehearsals for a stage production, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And given that's the case, I'm not surprised, but I was kind of hopeful. Hey, they would say, what could we do to our presentation to potentially make this a bit more interesting, a little different? What if this was Edge pulling up to the Performance Center and he drops this promo from his truck?
Yeah.
And the truck's all beat up, a little bit because it just drove 17 hours. They could kayfabe it like he had to drive on some dirt roads or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So the truck is like a metaphor for him.
Mm-hmm. No, I think here's the thing. I think the sad thing about this is that, we've often said that when they have their backs up against the wall, they can produce better content. I kind of feel like Raw last night, they were just frozen. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? And it's like, I understand there's a lot of limitations that you're facing with the state of the country right now. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't get creative with stuff. And I think that they, going outside, the performance center, just, hey, a dude with a camera, just put one guy with a camera on Edge. And maybe you'll have something there. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. I mean, I guess you can't expect them to reinvent the wheel overnight, but there's opportunities there to try to do something different. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you're trying something new, anyways. So Edge continues his promo. He talks about the moment he met Randy Orton that Orton described in his promo a couple weeks back. And he said he knew the moment he met Randy that their careers would be intertwined forever. They talk about essentially being made as stars, as main eventers by Mick Foley, and how he passed the torch to both of them. And Edge says, but Randy, he didn't take the lesson of grit from Foley, and it was grit that helped Edge make his comeback. Calls Randy an entitled brat. Says he's one of the best, maybe the best to ever do it. But he had all of it handed to him on a silver platter because of his dad.
Yeah, Cowboy Bob.
And Edge says, it kills you, Randy. It makes you jealous that I, Edge, had to go out and scratch and claw and earn it all, where it was just given to you. And then Edge says, when Beth came to Raw a couple weeks back, she was coming out to retire for me again. Whoops. Because she didn't think it was fair for him to have to come out and retire twice. And he said, Randy, if you'd only just let her finish, then you would have been finished with all this problem wouldn't exist. But he said, all the times that I, Edge, had to pull Randy out of a hole, Randy, you pulled me out of a hole of making a horrible decision last week. And then it says at Mania, Edge versus Orton, last man standing. And Edge says, Randy, you're not going to write the story. I am. And it's going to be a redemptive one. It was really good.
No, it was really good. I really like the twist that she was going to retire for him. Mm-hmm. I think that, in front of a crowd in an arena, this story could have played out in a much more shocking fashion. Could you imagine if it was revealed that she was going to retire him, in front of, 10,000 people as a big story beat, and then he says, well, you didn't do that. And I mean, they try to do this here, but I feel like, just the circumstances, I thought it was really, really good. And I thought Edge's performance was really good.
Yeah, it was top notch. After that, Becky Lynch pulls up Performance Center. She's got a semi truck emblazoned with the man all over it.
Should have been like one of those monster trucks from like Hogan Big Show.
I know.
Hogan Giant with like didn't they have like giant arms? Like Hogan's had like his pythons.
Yeah, had his pythons. Yeah.
Or at least my little like Hot Wheel that I had of that truck.
Yeah, at least one of them had the arms on it.
Something had arms on it.
It did. That's true.
Yeah. So then we had then we got to take an hour and a half long break. We had the 2020 Men's Rumble match.
Yeah,
in its entirety.
In its entirety.
So are we gonna get
Yeah, what are we gonna get next week? Let's speculate.
Well, the other big match is Shayna. I mean, they showed the highlights from Shayna Becky in terms of like the Elimination Chamber. Didn't they show like a package of Elimination Chamber stuff?
Yeah, they did.
Last night's episode.
Yeah, it was the Women's Chamber match. Yeah.
They might show Bray Goldberg. No, that's on SmackDown. They might do that on Friday.
Yeah, they might.
Okay, they'll do it on Friday on next Raw. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But then again, Bray Goldberg is all of like 4 minutes, so.
Yeah.
If they're looking to fill up some time, that's not exactly going to do it.
I wonder what it is. No, you're right about that. I mean, that could take it with entrances and stuff. Wouldn't that take up
10 minutes? 12 maybe?
Yeah, huh? That's not a lot of time.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they could show the entire Women's Rumble to promote Charlotte Rhea Ripley. Yeah, they could do that.
That's a Raw thing, though, too.
Yeah, they could do that next week on Raw. They could do that next week on Raw.
That
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
They got 3 hours to fill. They got to put something in there.
I know. After the Rumble replay, we get a Drew and Brock Lesnar recap from a couple weeks back. And then we get the Undertaker AJ Styles contract signing. So Undertaker comes out. He's upset. He's tossing some tables and chairs around. We don't exactly know why, but we have to wait to find out because they go to commercial.
Yeah, they went to commercial immediately. It was weird.
He broke kayfabe. He was talking about Michelle.
They come back, and that's when Tom Phillips says Undertaker's upset there wasn't a contract in the ring. And then we throw, of course, to a video package of Undertaker, AJ, that whole saga.
Yeah.
So you get Taker, he's stalking around the ring, kind of limping a little bit. You cue AJ's music.
At this point, AJ. Taker had already pulled down his shirt, right?
Yeah.
To expose his breasts.
Correct.
And his shirt was sort of down to around his middle of his midsection.
Yeah.
And so it looked like he was wearing some black DDP rib tape.
Correct.
So he already looked like an FPOS.
Yeah. So no AJ. Music hits again. Still no AJ, but he shows up on the Tron and says, "Ha, Taker, I have this contract because I'm the one that challenged you for the match.
I got it.
I got it.
I got it."
Signs it. AJ says, "Yeah, you're a legend, Undertaker. You're maybe ain't on the Mount Rushmore of superstars, but it's 2020, and Undertaker, you keep interjecting yourself into Mania season." He says, "You don't see Bret Favre interjecting himself in the Super Bowl.
Brett Favre.
You don't see Michael Jordan interjecting himself in the NBA Finals.
That'd be
so
awesome.
why are you?"
I would love that.
Oh, that'd be great if he just came out with a Bulls jersey and got on the court and started playing.
Oh man, I'd be there all day long. I'd watch that.
I'd still put money on Jordan over either of the teams too.
Me too.
And AJ says, and we all know why. It's Money Michelle's fault that Undertaker keeps limping to the ring and embarrassing himself. And says, "Mark, you're a shell of what you used to be."
Money Michelle.
And AJ says, "I can't find any sympathy for the old guy, for Mark, because he stuck his nose in AJ's business too many times at Crown Royal, taking that trophy from AJ, cost him his match at Elimination Chamber." And says, "Undertaker, you're going to rest in peace." He signs the contract and he says, "All right, Carl Anderson, go take this to the Undertaker."
No,
and Carl's like, no.
He's like, "Come on, man, you're the toughest guy here." Not today.
Not tonight. No.
And then he's like, "Look at Gallows. He's much bigger than me." He's all right, Gallows, go do it, Gallows. He's like, "Nah, boss, I'm not going to do that."
No, not going to happen, Uncle.
Yeah, Uncle, yeah. Then he orders them both to go down there, and reluctantly they do. This was hilarious. They go down there, very reluctant, very hesitant, very tentative. They take the contract. They sort of very gently put it on the apron and back up. Lights go down. Undertaker had hit his charge up or whatever that thing's called in 2K19. Lights go up, and he's behind them.
Yeah. Powers of darkness, man.
Powers of darkness. So the people saying, "Hey, this is the American Badass." I'm sorry, American Badass. He was a normal dude, didn't have powers.
No, you're right about that. American Badass did not have powers of the darkness.
Look, here's the thing. It ain't going to be for all those people out there who think this is going to be, it's not the American Badass unless we hear Limp Bizkit first. If we hear Limp Bizkit.
There's got to be a motorcycle in play, too.
Has he ever had the motorcycle without Limp Bizkit? I think Deadman. I think as Deadman. Didn't he as Deadman? Like, he didn't he have like a Deadman song as Deadman Inc. and he was still not the dead guy?
Yeah, maybe.
Dead man walking. Yeah.
Like that. Well, it could be Limp Bizkit, but also for a while he did have that terrible Kid Rock song too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyways, Taker teleports behind him, of course, beats him up.
Big evil dead man walking. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. He signs the contract, shoves the contract in Carl Anderson's mouth, and he leaves.
Yeah, that was cool. He was so gassed too. He was breathing heavy, so sweaty.
"Oh, my tits are glistening now on these Performance Center lights. Michelle Money's going to be so happy to see these Undertaker titties."
It's Money Michelle, Mark.
Money Michelle Money. money.
Okay. So
anyways, next we had a match, lone match of the night. Rey Mysterio versus Andrade. This was short. It
was paint by numbers for them. But
Asuka was doing commentary. That was great.
It's the only bright spot, man. Asuka was doing commentary. She was great. The vast majority of it was in Japanese as well, I believe. And she was just hilarious. She was great. I saw this on Twitter. Triple H and Asuka Wrestlemania commentary.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
I'd be so happy with that.
Yeah, Asuka was great too because she was rooting for Andrade.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
It was
huge Andrade
fantastic.
fan. Yeah.
It was great.
was
As you
great.
mentioned, this match was a bit paint by numbers for them. Still a lot of fun though. At one point, Ray has the upper hand, looking for a springboard. Zelina grabs his ankle. Andrade tries to take advantage, cannot. Ray jumps off the top rope. Andrade hits a drop kick. We go to commercial. We come back. Ray hits a seated senton, regains the upper hand, sets up for a 619. Andrade evades that, hits the back elbow, Judas effect, goes for three amigos. Ray reverses the last suplex into a Rana, sends Andrade into the ropes, hits 619, springboard frog splash for the win.
Yeah.
So Ray has just solidified his case for a U.S. title shot.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point here.
Yeah.
We'll see where that happens.
After that, Becky comes down for a promo. Says Shayna's been trained to bully her way to the top, but when she sees Becky, then it challenges Shayna's entire worldview, sends Shayna into an existential crisis. As she says that, we see Shayna watching backstage. Becky says that she is the prey that killed the predator, and tells Shayna, "Don't make the same mistake everyone else has with me." Becky says that Shayna can cut through the division, but she knows that Becky is different. And she wants Shayna to do something different, and that is to think. And to think how it's going to feel when Becky wins. Because at Mania, Becky says she's going to prove that Shayna's whole life is a lie, and it's going to hit Shayna like what?
A truck.
A truck.
She drove her metaphor to the Performance Center.
She did.
From, I wonder where they procured, I mean, whatever the nearest
detailing place in Orlando is, I would suspect.
I wonder if that's a specific niche business for semis specifically, or if they can, if a place can do cars and semis in the same location.
Well, I imagine that the stuff they put on isn't, I don't know, I doubt it's a paint job. I guess
it's a decal. They're decals.
Yeah, printed and put on, yeah.
Yeah.
Next, we got Kevin Owens' interview, and he answers Seth's challenge from a week or two ago that Seth said he'd face Kevin Owens anytime, any place. And Kevin Owens says he wants it at Mania. And he kind of circled in his experience at the Performance Center into his response, saying, this place is perfect for this match because this is more or less where I built myself as a WWE superstar, something that Seth didn't do.
Yeah, didn't he talk about his WWE tryout?
Yeah, he said it was the hardest thing he ever did.
Yeah.
And he said there were so many people that came up to him and said, hey, you weren't going to cut it in the WWE. And one of those people was Seth Rollins.
Oh, that doesn't sound, that's got to be at work.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if Seth actually came up to me. Hey, you're not going to make it. You're not CrossFit Jesus.
Hey, Kevin Steen, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at a bingo hall in Reseda?
You and those young bucks never gonna go anywhere. So yeah, that's gonna be funny when it ends up not at the Performance Center.
Yeah, no.
He's like, oh, I thought it was gonna be at the Performance Center. I sort of just combined Bernie, Adam Mayhem, and Kevin Owens all in one.
You did.
Stone Cold promo was next. He comes out. He takes a bump.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. He drinks some beer, takes a bump, gets up. He's like, I'm already blown up. I'm getting down here to the ring. God dang.
So yeah, I said from here on out, he just declares March 16th, it's a national holiday now, by proclamation of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I love it. It's a great idea.
He asked for a hell yeah, and it cuts to the shots in the empty arena. Of course, there's no one to give him a hell yeah back. And then finally, Byron responds with the most over-the-top hell yeah you can imagine. Stone Cold says, what?
Yeah.
Byron does another hell yeah.
Yeah, he does it again. And then he's like, people want to know, Stone Cold, what is 316 Day all about? And so he has these cards, and he's reading. Each one has a different criteria for what 316 Day is all about.
Yeah.
The first one, when someone gives you a load of crap, you give them a certain finger on your hand. And then
Byron holds up a sign with a giant 8.
So Byron is now rating these. And I mean, look, dude, here's the thing. I give them credit for trying. I really do. It was but without crowd interaction, it just sort of landed like a fart, man.
What they need to do with this is have Stone Cold in the conference room. So he's back in the conference room at the Performance Center, and just do one shot, and it's set it up like he's president of Oh Hell Yeah Nation.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't necessarily need the podium, I guess, but this is like an official decree from Stone Cold. And don't have him read off cards. Stone Cold, it just put a magnifying glass that he didn't write the stuff, that he was handed these cards. He was handed all this stuff to say before he was supposed to go out there.
You know,
and I was
what they
Stone
needed
Cold's
to do.
arguably the best promo ever. Just let him say what 316 Day is supposed to be about.
Number one, this might have been his thing. This might have been him saying, "Oh, and I'll bring some cards out there." That wouldn't surprise me. You know what they needed to do, because this sort of had the feel of Stone Cold and Kevin Nash doing Uberfax, but without Kevin Nash. They should have brought Kevin Nash out. He's about to go in the Hall of Fame again, and have them do this together for some reason. Doesn't matter why. It's Kevin Nash. Who cares? I'd watch Kevin Nash and Stone Cold do anything all day long.
Yeah.
I was reading that Nitro book. I'm in the middle of it, and they were talking about when Nash and Hall were giving their depositions for like the lawsuit thing that was like involving their likenesses or the trademarks or whatever.
Yeah.
Diesel and Razor Ramon. And they said there was actually a portion of the deposition where Hall had done like basically nothing. They had asked him to conduct an exhaustive search for like some records that he had apparently, and he didn't. And like you could see, it was like Hall did the bare minimum, less than the bare minimum during his deposition. They're like, did you look for anything? He was like, no, not really. And they're like, well, what did you bring today? My tights. And so Nash, apparently there was none of his deposition on like none of it like recorded, or in the book there wasn't any like transcripts. Yeah. But one source said that they literally had to stop the deposition because the person asking the questions was laughing so much at his answers because he was just goofing the entire time. I love Kevin Nash. He's the best.
Yeah, Kevin Nash is great.
And apparently once like they were totally cooperative with everything. They were like pitching creative ideas until Bischoff fired Six. And at that point, they checked out. And that's when they started showing up to like spring break drunk already. And the story about the closet is in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the pattern we see of Stone Cold will say what 316 Day is about. Byron will hold up another card. So Stone Cold says you can open up a can of whoop ass on anybody you want. I think Byron held up a 6 or something like that. Stone Cold said his speed limit's only a suggestion. That got a 10 from Byron. Burps are poetry. Your boss works for you. Byron didn't give that one a 10.
Yeah.
He said you could drink beer instead of coffee in the morning. He said 4-letter words are always acceptable. And then after that one, Stone Cold is like, all right, Byron, I appreciate you're trying. Come on down here. He compliments Byron's suit, his Red Sox. But once Byron gets to the ring, he takes umbrage with Byron's scoring. Says, anyways, you're trying. You added a lot to the fabric of the show.
He's like, damn, where'd you get that suit from? He's got a salmon tie and some Red Sox. I got to get me some of them Red Sox.
Polo Ralph Lauren?
Yeah.
He hands him a beer, calls him a jackass.
He said, he also said, is it Wrangler?
I believe he called him a jackass.
Yeah.
They're drinking some beer. Stone Cold kicks Byron, looks like square in the front area.
Well, the funny thing is Byron starts drinking the beer as he says he's a jackass, and Byron, as he's drinking, gets this real disgruntled look on his face.
Yeah.
And then, Stone Cold square in the nuts and gives him a stunner, and Byron, to his credit, sells it beautifully.
Yeah, he did a great job selling it. So he's asking for more beers being thrown in the ring. Cue Becky Lynch's music. She walks down. She's got a cooler with her. She opens that up. She, too, has some Steve Weisers.
And he says... He said, last time I was in the ring with you, which it was the Stone Cold. What's the name of the show on USA? It's whatever that is. Straight Up Stone Cold? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Straight Up Steve Austin, I think it was called.
Okay. And last time I was in the ring with you, you gave me a stunner. Can I trust you now? Or, is that going to happen again? And she's like, I'm just here to share some
Enjoy some Steve Weisers, yeah. It was great. Becky, when she came into the ring, she stepped on
Byron. Yeah, that was good.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So they cheers. They down some beers. Eventually, Byron kind of stumbles up. Austin helps him up and then hits him with another stunner. and then he and Becky just drink some beer to close the show.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but apparently after there's a .com exclusive where
the Street Profits come down too.
Yeah, and Becky gives Byron a stunner. Street Profits come down. They all celebrate, and Austin, I think, gives them stunners too. Apparently Montez had a go, which is totally expected. He sold the stunner amazingly.
He did. He about hit his head on Becky's cooler too.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was just a glance.
It was a big old do nothing Raw.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So do you want to do questions now or do Broken Skull now?
We can just get right into Broken Skull. I mean, we can just kind of talk overview of what we thought. It was Bret. Bret, for his part, beyond the very beginning, when he was just instantly complaining about how his vacation in Hawaii wasn't that great because it was raining and it was too cold in Calgary, was seemingly instantly set the tone for grumpy, bitter Bret. It really wasn't that so much. He was pretty honest. I didn't necessarily think in terms of juicy details. There was really anything new. That being said, it was fascinating. The deep dive into their match at Mania 13 was great.
Easily the best part of it.
They should have spent the whole hour just talking about that, because I think that would have been fantastic.
Easily that was the best part about it. Yeah, you're right. You know, Bret just came off. I think that Stone Cold can make people so comfortable. Bret, obviously, and it's all over his face, has a natural, I think he's naturally defensive. And I think it's probably just, it's to be expected. I mean, everything that's happened to him in his life, being in the pro wrestling industry is crazy in the first place. But everything that's happened to him, he just comes off as naturally defensive and not willing to just open up and trust people. Stone Cold really did a great job of bringing that out in Bret. And so, yeah, he came off as somebody who, I don't know if he was expecting to, but he really sort of tried to, or I think Stone Cold wanted the record sort of set straight on Bret in a nutshell. Because I really like at the very end when he said, you know, when I think of the Stone Cold character, you know, what do I think of? I think of him as, you know, he's the baddest SOB on the planet. He's this, he's that. He says, what do you think, you know, what about Bret Hart? And of course he gave first the answer, best there is, was, and ever will be.
Yeah.
But he says, you know, I just want people to know that in my 23 years in the business, I never hurt anybody in the ring. And I don't know if he said it here, but I know he said it throughout the episode, that I want to be known as the guy who can tell the best stories in the ring. And a lot of the stuff that he was saying during the match breakdown and even before that really illustrated that. You know, when he's talking about during the match, when he's looking for something to hurt Stone Cold with, he picks up the padded chair. Well, no, I don't want that. I want the steel chair. And he really illustrated that this is a guy who prided himself on bringing people into the story of the match. He said that the thing that he loved about the Stone Cold Mania match was he wanted it to be like a schoolyard fight. And he was getting into detail with that kind of story that he wanted to tell. You know, he saw himself as, you know, the jock quarterback guy, and Stone Cold was the bad boy who would show up at school. He's new,
he was
and everybody knew that fight was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I thought that he did a masterful job of sort of getting across in efficiency of language what Bret the Hitman Hart really was in his own estimation. And yeah, none of the bitterness really came through. Like, I thought that he did a good job of making his case.
By the end of the episode, I don't know if it was based on Bret's relationship with Stone Cold or Stone Cold's ability as an interviewer or whatever the case it was. But yeah, beyond the first 5-10 minutes, you know, bitter Bret seemed to go by the wayside, and Bret actually showed some warmth. You know, something that we don't often hear from him, and especially the little sound bites. He had some choice words for Goldberg.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, it's funny because like that was gonna be one of the original entries on our top 10, 10 for the win real life feuds, but there wasn't a lot of meat to it. There was more meat in this episode to that.
Yeah, they you know, like Bret had called him Goldberg an unsafe worker in the past. He's done that several times, but he'd always circle back around to like, oh, you know, yeah, we've talked about it, and Bill's apologized, and we're okay, but you know.
The fact that he called out that Goldberg's in the Hall of Fame. He says, you know, he's in the Hall of Fame, but he hurt everybody he worked with, and that really is something that Bret takes pride in. I mean, that's what really got across to me in this is that, you know, he obviously the thing that he takes the most amount of pride in is never hurting, you know, workers, the guys that he worked with.
Well, especially with his. Well, you contrast Goldberg, where whether it's, you know, he's talked about that kick to Bret, and you know, his explanation for how he approached that. He's like, well, Bret knew it was coming. And for me, the Goldberg character, I have to go out there and present everything I do as real. And he talked about that for the Undertaker match. Why, when he had that spot where he's supposed to run into the ring post, he actually ran to the ring post and concussed himself. Well, in Goldberg's mind, he has to do everything to make it look real, even if it puts himself or potentially his opponents at risk. Whereas Bret, you know, he said in 23 years, I never hurt anybody, yet my goal in every match was to make it look as real as possible. And I worked snug, I worked stiff at times, but I never hurt anybody.
Yeah. He did get his little shots in though. When he said that, he says, you know, when I wallop you on the back, you're gonna feel it. Not like Honky Tonk Man who gives these little, you know.
Oh yeah.
That was funny. You know, he still has to needle people. You know.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Bret still thinks very highly of Bret. That's for dang sure. But to put that difference out there, where you have two guys whose approach is to make what they do look as believable as possible, and Bret, you know, maybe that's through years of training and experience, who, you know, as based on his own testimony, he's never hurt anybody. Goldberg, on the other hand, who has the same stated goal, yet apparently has been known to hurt people.
Yeah. Adrian C. here in chat on our live Twitch chat says there's a whole Stone Cold podcast where they watch the entire match together and talk about everything they're doing throughout. That's it. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Might have to check that one out now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know that. Like Bret going into that match at WrestleMania 13, and he says, I was kind of disappointed. We were doing that match, and he's said that not that I was disappointed to be working with Stone Cold, but disappointed in that he thought that match wouldn't happen till SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like he felt like that story had more room to breathe. Originally, we'd heard this all before this at WrestleMania 13. It was supposed to be HBK and Bret. That didn't happen. Taker and Sid got the main event spot. So then Stone Cold and Bret got kind of like the sub main event, co-main event, if you will. And like it seemed like Bret had zero expectations for it, seemingly. And it was weird hearing him talking about. So I would think if this, you know, with the submission match stipulation, he'd hear that and be like, "Oh, awesome, piece of cake."
Yeah,
my finish is a submission move. And he said he had a submission match with somebody years back.
Backlund.
It was like Backlund, yeah. He said it was like the worst match I ever had. And just from a storytelling and dramatic aspect, submission matches don't really work.
Yeah, no false finishes. You can't get your shoulder up dramatically at 2.8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Stone Cold has he's got such an enthusiasm when he's watching his matches back. You know, when he talked about the finish of their Survivor Series?
Survivor Series 96,
yeah, 96, where, you know, Bret gets the win, and he's like, oh, look at that, I get my shoulder up at 3.1, you know.
And he points out Bret's reaction to when he lost. He may have won the match, but he looks worse for wear.
Yeah, exactly, and he even like drops an F-bomb there. That was interesting stuff. But yeah, no, I thought it was really good. 411 Mania here has a decent breakdown. I'm just sort of going through this stuff because something hit me and then I lost it for a second. Let's see here. Yeah, they dive right into the Montreal screw job, and there was really nothing new there except, I mean, there was actually, that's actually not true. There was after he talks about the incident where he punches Vince, and that Shawn was still in the room after Vince and his guys left, and, you know, it was Shawn, Bret, and all of Bret's guys, and he was like, yeah, Shawn thought he was probably going to catch a beat down, so he just kept his head buried in his hands, and he said, hey, nice match.
He said, hey, Shawn, thanks for the match.
Yeah, thanks for the match. Yeah. The other thing that and this was such a throwaway little thing, and I don't know if he said it just because he was there and he felt some camaraderie with Steve. But when he was discussing options for dropping the title before he left to WCW, he claims, and it was a very throwaway thing, he was like, I even suggested that I drop it to you, to Austin, which is an interesting little thing, because if you think about it, like, they had that terrific Mania match that would have been in April or late March, and then this was November, so it would have it would have been interesting. I mean, could that match have been the kind of thing, like, would that have been too early? Like, Austin, I think, probably needed the Mike Tyson thing to
at least
really
the Mania moment, but then there's a certain amount of symmetry to Stone Cold never beating Bret, and then to finally do it for the title. Yeah, it would have been better if it was at Mania, obviously, but.
And I wonder. I mean, I think the Tyson stuff is probably. I think the Tyson stuff, but yeah, it would have been interesting, because I think the match, like both Austin and HBK, they're not happy with that match, because they had matches before that they loved and said they tore down the house.
Yeah.
And they weren't happy with their Mania match. Obviously, HBK was in a really bad state.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that Survivor Series match, if Bret had lost the title to Stone Cold there, and they just had like a killer match, like something on par with, or even better than their Mania match, which is obviously a classic. Would that have been enough? Would that have also been enough to really kickstart Austin? You'd think it maybe would be. Would they have launched into the Mr. McMahon stuff? I mean,
I don't
Mr.
know.
McMahon stuff was necessary for that next step for Stone Cold.
It definitely was. And they tried to trace the birth of Mr. McMahon, not necessarily to Montreal Screwjob, but to a promo Bret did before that, where they're kind of breaking down the cage and he's expressing his frustration at Vince. But yeah, without the Screwjob, I don't think.
I don't know if Vince would have had
character.
That kind of feud. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd say the character of Mr. McMahon wouldn't have had the legitimacy with the fans that he would have otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. They did. They showed a really fun little bit from seeming like a house show in, what did he say? It was like South Africa or Kuwait?
It was Kuwait, yeah.
And where Stone Cold is out there trying to make Bret break character and laugh.
Yeah, I think Stone Cold has talked about that, but seeing the footage of it was something else.
Yeah, because you see Bret totally laughing. Let's see here, just seeing if there's anything I missed. But no, it was I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I could have sat there for another hour and watched them talk a lot more.
Totally.
Oh yeah, he was talking about. Of course, they talked about how WCW misused him, and that's just an absolute shame. And he was talking about how useless Bischoff was. How he was like, as soon as I got there, I should have had Hogan in the sharpshooter.
Yeah, I know. He's right.
No, he's totally right. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing how they used him when he came in. It is absolutely crazy.
I know. They totally
I mean, if anything is an indictment on Eric Bischoff, it is totally that.
Yep. You want to answer some questions?
Yeah, let's answer. You can start on that. I'm just seeing if.
All right. What else is there?
Yeah.
Alex Foster, do you guys think the change to WrestleMania will cause different booking decisions? I don't know in terms of who wins or loses matches per se, unless they just assume this WrestleMania is kind of going to be a wash. And so they're going to wait till their next arena show to make any huge dramatic turns or have any huge victories. But I doubt that. I kind of feel like they just want to get moving on with their storylines rather than have to postpone everything for 3 to 5 months. I just hope they find a way to really utilize the space well of the Performance Center.
Well, it's what I'm sorry, what was the premise of the question? I was reading that thing.
Do you guys think the change to Mania will cause different booking decisions?
The thought did occur to me. The thought occurred to me because if they present it in a way that Vince is even halfway happy with, which I don't know that Vince would be happy with this presentation in any way if there's not fans there. I don't think that he'd be happy with it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there were absolutely some changes to the booking. I'm not sure about the big matches. I mean, Drew versus Brock, should that be in front of a fans regardless? Maybe that'll change, but you can't have Drew losing to Brock there.
No.
So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if there were changes in some way, if they just wrote this WrestleMania off as just a loss and said, hey, We don't want to have to recall. We don't have to want to throw back to this WrestleMania ever. And so nothing major happens there. I don't know how they'd pull that off without wonk finish, wonk finish, wonk finish.
I know.
I don't know. But I don't know. I get the feeling that Vince absolutely hates this. And they might do everything. Like, we had speculated that that's how originally they were going to approach the Saudi Arabia shows, where the backlash was so bad about Saudi Arabia that they would book stuff that they would never have to throw back to, and that was proven wrong. That was totally proven wrong.
Yeah.
But this is different because I get the feeling that Vince hates this. Yeah. And I don't know if this is going to be stuff they're going to want to call back to. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So it wouldn't surprise me if there were changes.
Mr. Sinister, so WrestleMania will be at the Performance Center with no audience. How do you guys think it'll turn out, especially since they can't do a 3-hour Raw without having to play an old Rumble match? They can't do it with a 2-hour SmackDown. How will they do the full Mania card or just some matches? I don't know. I don't know if they can rotate people in and out of the building. I don't know the nature of whatever restrictions they're working with in terms of people in the vicinity. I just don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, if it does at all.
Yeah. I mean, there is still the question of if. Apparently, that's still potentially up in the air. We're going to take a deeper dive on that one in our news brief today.
Nemo, do you think the Kabuki Warriors are getting dangerously close to becoming a comedy act? No.
I haven't. Once I see it in the match booking, then I'll comment more on that. But so far I don't have any evidence of that. No, I mean, last night was kind of interesting that they had Asuka out there for the Andrade Ray match. I'm kind of curious as to what motivated that. Mm-hmm. Because there didn't seem to be anything clear beyond them maybe maybe they thought, hey, the one match scheduled for Mania that really hasn't had anything behind it was the tag title match. Mm-hmm. And maybe they just wanted Asuka out there to push that a little bit, because
she was asked questions about it. Yeah.
There's the bottom. Who's better on commentary, Asuka or Triple H?
Put them together.
So I say put them together. I'll say this. I will say Triple H only because he seemingly on that SmackDown he had all the freedom.
Yep.
He could do whatever he wanted. Asuka still has direction. Triple H seemingly has none. So I'll just give him the edge because of that.
Yeah. Samuel Bronkowitz has an interesting question. What do you think the percentage of pre-tape matches will be for WrestleMania? I guess that's a possibility. They could just tape them and air it live.
It's a possibility. I mean, you would think that if they're going to, that they already have to compromise on the setting, that I would be surprised if they compromise on the live aspect of it. But if they decided that, hey, we don't have fans, so what else do we have? We have an A-level production team that can film this in any way we want. We can produce the hell out of it if we want to. If we made it more of a, hey, this is WrestleMania at the movies, and we premiere it as opposed to, air it live. Yeah. Then that's one option, I would suppose. I don't know.
And it's probably the only way they can get around whatever personnel limitations they might face. Like if they had to have under 50 people in the building.
Yeah.
That's probably the only way they can do it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either. Doc Hensla, Edge's promo was sheer gold. Why is it the old timers know how to cut such great promos? Meanwhile, the up-and-comers don't seem to get it. Experience, grit. It's experience. It's like anything. It takes experience and reps to get really good at something.
So I think it's experience, but it's also, we've said this time and time again, just pure life experience. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the more you go through. He's a dad, I think. Mm-hmm. And going through all that stuff, it just comes across. It just translates. It's nothing you can manufacture. It just translates.
Yeah. The British barman, Matt Field, Bret Hart or Owen Hart, and why? There's one thing in the Broken Skull session with Bret that he was asked about Owen and whether he should be in the Hall of Fame essentially. And Bret gave a fairly diplomatic answer, which was, I think Owen would have appreciated the honor, I think is what he said.
Yeah, no, he essentially said he should have been there. He should be there.
He should be in the Hall of Fame, yeah.
That was another bit I loved in Broken Skull, too, was when Austin basically gave Bret the floor to talk about Owen when Austin broke his neck.
Yeah.
And Bret was able to say, hey, you know what I love that Owen did here? Look at that. You call out, I'm hurt. And what does Owen do? He leaves you alone to figure it out. He goes and talks to the crowd. That was particularly a bit, I'm not going to say difficult, but, to watch that, number one, I close my eyes. I hate watching that.
Yeah, I can't watch that spot.
But then to see the aftermath and to see them detail, okay, this is what Owen did. This is what was going through Austin's head. He was like, I couldn't move my arms. He was able to get the roll up, which is seemingly miraculous because God, what else do you do in that situation? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
We didn't answer his question. Bret Hart or Owen Hart?
I'd give it, I don't know. I'd give it to Bret just because I've seen Bret as a world champion. And with Owen, it's like you could see around like WrestleMania 10, you could see him as like a potential main eventer, but then the fact that they never really pulled the trigger on it.
I know.
Sometimes you have to see it. Yeah.
I always found Owen to be a more interesting in-ring wrestler. Like he of course he wrestled a lot in New Japan in the junior division, so he was doing some of the stuff in the WWE that he was doing over there.
He seemed to have a more dynamic personality too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Ollie B, does this WrestleMania coming up have the possibility of being one of the most watched live just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sure.
Tokyo Dome Hayes, a good Mania usually starts with a strong opener. Which match should start this year's show?
If they can pull off the U.S. title match,
yeah,
and if any match is going to convince us, it's going to be that one. You know what they're definitely not doing this year is those battle royals.
Yeah, they're definitely not doing those.
Those are not going to be on the show. I wonder how long. One question is, there is no way this is going to be a standard length Mania. If this does go down in the PC, this is going to be a 3-hour show.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some pre-taped stuff. Christopher Rampersad, I would love Bret to manage Matt Riddle to build to a Riddle versus Goldberg. Are we getting American Badass Taker? No, he used magic. He used Powers of Darkness.
He used magic. He's dead man.
Michelle Money.
Let's see here. Adrian C. Given the fact that we got one match on Raw this week, doesn't it realistically make sense to just cancel Raw and SmackDown and all shows until this blows over? That's a big piece of evidence right there. SmackDown had what? 3? 4? 3?
2 or 3 matches.
3? They had the women's match and they had 2 men's matches.
Okay, so 3, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was real. I mean, yeah. How do you continue these storylines? Like, okay, from now till Mania, we've got what, like 2 more weeks of programming? 3 at most. You could conceivably construct a 3-hour and a 2-hour Road to WrestleMania sort of clip shows where you run matches, packages, promos, and no new wrestling. You could conceivably get there because all the matches basically are done. Like you can get there.
Yeah.
And it could just be reminders, hey, this is coming up, this is coming up. And you can really promote unprecedented, at the Performance Center. You can even do some like behind the scenes stuff with like the people creating the set for it. Really say this is a special one-time unique event. What do you do after that? Yeah. Because if this virus thing, if it peaks 3 months from now, which is a possibility.
Yeah.
That is June. That is middle of June.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at a return to things being relatively normal in July.
Or August even.
Or August.
So
how do you get by with this much programming, that's empty and you can't do it?
No, you can't. And have people continue to watch, that's for sure.
So, like, I mean, the NBA suspending their season, where does that leave ESPN and TNT and TBS in terms of programming? Have you looked into that at all?
No, I imagine they're just showing reruns of movies and TV shows.
Yeah, they have that
They have
library.
back catalogs they can tap into.
Endless, like huge
Yeah.
back catalogs.
Yeah. Although ESPN not quite as much. I don't know if they're still doing all their studio shows. I imagine SportsCenter. Maybe they'll be able to do what they do with SportsCenter overnight, where it's just on. They run the same episode back to back to back to back to back overnight.
Yeah.
You know, like from like midnight to 3 a.m. or something like that.
With
I don't know.
WWE, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Timothy
Rye, should WWE get creative with some pre-tape stuff and have guys like Edge and Randy and other feuds do some home invasion attacks? Any thoughts? Yeah, they should do what they can to freshen up the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's dependent on what they can do. The chaotic one, how do you guys feel about McIntyre and others not getting their proper WrestleMania moment? Also, is there really a point in watching WrestleMania without the spectacle of the event?
If the presentation, I think that they can still. Oh, so McIntyre not getting his proper WrestleMania moment, that's a bummer. And I hope that he has the longevity as champion so that he does get it next year or at SummerSlam. I mean, look, here's the thing. If I do kind of suspect, and I don't know, I have no idea if this is possible because I imagine booking a stadium is probably a tall task.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already booked LA and we're over a year out.
Yeah.
So booking a stadium for SummerSlam.
And the issue too is SummerSlam's in Boston, and so in mid-late August, you can't do Fenway because if SummerSlam's going to happen, chances are the baseball season has started by then.
Yeah.
I guess there's a Patriot Stadium out in Foxborough that's about an hour out of Boston, but then again, that's I don't know. Shortly before the start of the NFL season, I don't know if they'd want their field being torn up to that effect.
Yeah. Look, regardless of the specifics. We just don't know. I mean, I would imagine booking a stadium, 4 months, 4 months in advance or 5 months in advance rather.
And short notice essentially is going to be rough. Yeah.
I don't know how possible that is. The logistics of that have to be incredibly,
daunting. Yes.
Daunting. Yeah. I mean, is there a point in watching WrestleMania? Sure. I mean,
we don't know what we're going to get.
If you've been following the stories and you want to see how they play out, then that to me is a reason to watch, even if WrestleMania is held in our back room. But I mean, I understand the point. Like, yeah, WrestleMania is there for spectacle, but it's also where they conclude.
And also, I think too, if WrestleMania does go through the PC, I think the talents are going to do everything they can to make it memorable. I think they're really going to put it all out there, just so you don't get the spectacle in terms of the fireworks and the huge crowd and the giant screen and all the pomp and circumstance, but they'll bring the spectacle in terms of what they can do in the ring.
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. I'm going to go through and see. I know some people in Twitch. I don't know. Are you paying attention to Twitch? Because I know some people had their, let's see. I think we've got.
AOR Mass, have you watched episode 5 of Ruthless Aggression? It's about the brand split. Have not.
I haven't watched anything but episode 1.
Legit Haas. Who else would you guys like to see do a Broken Skull session? He says, I'd like to see Edge or Triple H. And others in chat mentioned The Rock. All those are good answers.
Yeah, Triple H would be fantastic. Etsa Bits with the sub. Thank you very much for that. J Squared 213 with the bits. Thank you for that. And I know I think somebody earlier had their thing highlighted. Let me see if I can grab that. I'm still working out all this stuff. Oh crap! It's not going to let me go back. Well, apologies to whoever had their thing highlighted. Next time I'll be sure to keep an eye on that.
Be on top of it. Yeah. Same.
Sorry. Yeah. Anyways. So that's it for the show today. We're going to be back with a news brief a little bit later today.
Correct.
And then for the patrons and channel members, we'll have an episode of Overrun available to you. In a little bit, we're going to eat lunch and then reconvene.
Correct.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We definitely appreciate it. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.